Hey, what's up everybody, this is Marcus from the Weekly Spot, back again with another video, and today I wanted to give my thoughts on Thunderbolts and Captain America Brave New World.
You want me? Come and get me!
Captain America Brave New World has become, one of my anticipated movies because, Sam has been one of my favorite characters in the MCU. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I still would like to see a movie or a show of Sam Wilson as Falcon, just to see that origin story, but, at least the character is getting a solo movie, and it's looking pretty good so far. First thing, I'm liking, Sam's new Captain America suit. His suit from Falcon and Winter Soldier was cool, but this one I think is much better. We got Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, who went from General to Secretary of State, and now he's the President of the United States. Now, the character was played by William Hurt, but in 2022 he has passed away, and now we got Harrison Ford taking over the role. And there's a moment in the teaser trailer where Sam tells Ross that he's still getting used to his new look.
Thanks for coming in. Well, thank you for the invite, sir. I have to admit, I'm still getting used to the new look. They said lose the mustache or lose the election.
And I like that moment because that was like a nod to them changing the actors. It's kind of like how they introduced Don Cheadle as a James Rhodes in Iron Man 2, who was played by Terrence Howard in the first one.
Hey, buddy. Didn't expect to see you here.
Look, it's me. I'm here. Deal with it. Let's move on.
I just
drop it.
All right, I'll drop it.
I have before me a complete report on the...
So I like what they did there. And it's going to be interesting to see, the dynamic between, Sam and Ross now that Sam is Captain America and Ross is the president. Especially with these two having, a bit of a history with Ross hunting down Sam because he didn't sign the Sokovia Accords in Civil War, and, him doing that made him a fugitive along with Steve Rogers and everybody else that didn't sign it. But eventually the Sokovia Accords were no longer a thing, so they canceled that, and now it looks like these two are going to, or at least try to work together, which is probably not going to work out or end well. And we got our look at a Red Hulk, and he's looking pretty good, and I can't wait to see him in action. Now, I don't know how much the movie is going to change the origin of the Red Hulk, but long story short, in the comics, Thaddeus has for years become obsessed with capturing the Hulk so much to where it got to the point where he decided to fight fire with fire by becoming a Hulk himself. So he experimented on himself and became the Red Hulk. And there are some similarities to the Hulk, but what makes him different is that Ross has full control of the Red Hulk, and he can absorb energy, and his body generates heat, so the angrier he gets, the hotter he gets. But there is a downside to that though, which is, like I said, when the Red Hulk's anger rises, his body temperature does too, but when it becomes too much, it actually weakens him. So his strength is also like his weakness because it depowers him the more angry he becomes. And I wonder if that's going to play a part in, the fight between Red Hulk and Sam Wilson. Because unless they nerf him, which I hope they don't, or at least I hope they don't nerf him too much. But there are people out there, including myself, that's thinking, how is Sam going to fight somebody like the Hulk? Because remember, Sam, he doesn't have the super soldier serum. He doesn't have any powers. He's just, a regular guy. And also, if he fights the leader, how's that going to go down? Because he has telekinesis and he's a telepath. But, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see, and obviously they're going to come up with something. And it's not no disrespect towards Sam. I mean, the guy is a badass, don't get me wrong, but it's just one of those things where you can't help but wonder, and like with most people, I'm not really a fan of how they've been handling Hulk lately, so I just hope that they don't drop the ball with this one.
Please, oh please have mercy, please.
This movie brings back two characters from the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. Actors Carl Lumbly and Danny Ramirez will be reprising their roles as Isaiah Bradley and Joaquin Torres. Joaquin in the movie will be the next Falcon, much like in the comics, and we did get like a tease of that in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Thanks, Torres.
For sure.
Wait, yo, you forgot the wings.
Keep 'em.
And even though he wasn't in the show that much, I thought he was a cool character. I felt that the show gave us a decent introduction to him, so I'm excited to see the character back and to see, you know, that team up with him and Sam. It's gonna be like seeing Sam and Steve's team up in Winter Soldier, and we see Isaiah in prison for trying to kill Ross, and he doesn't remember any of that. And some sources have said that he was triggered by some mysterious voice or some kind of music, which sounds kind of similar to what Bucky went through. So, you know, if this is true, then that means that Isaiah was mind controlled or brainwashed, which I'm assuming this may have something to do with the leader. I don't know, but I just hope that he makes it out alright, because it just seems like this guy cannot catch a break. Like he's already been through enough already. Like, learning what he went through in the past and now seeing him locked up, like, he cannot go out like this.
Not like this.
But we got Tim Blake Nelson reprising the role as Samuel Stearns, aka the leader, who we haven't seen or heard of since the Incredible Hulk movie, which, remember, that movie came out in 2008, so, you know, it's been, I believe, 17 years. But in one of the MCU's comic book tie-ins, it was explained what happened to him, and apparently right after that scene where we see, you know, Stearns' brain expanding from you know, being affected with Banner's blood while the Abomination was going on a rampage. Black Widow, you know, Natasha Romanoff shows up and captures him. So this man has been with S.H.I.E.L.D. this whole time, and as we can see, he's obviously not with them anymore. But I'm excited to see the character back, and I hope that the movie at least explains what he has been up to since we last saw him. Liv Tyler will also be coming back as Betty Ross, another character that we haven't seen since the Incredible Hulk. Now, according to the Russo brothers, there have been characters that were victims of the Thanos snap, but we didn't see them, you know, disappear. They were killed off screen, and one of them was Betty Ross and Thaddeus Ross. So I wonder if at one point in the movie that they're gonna, you know, bring that up. But either way, it's just nice to see more characters in the Incredible Hulk making more appearances, and the Incredible Hulk movie getting more recognition. We got a new character that's going to be played by Giancarlo Esposito. And at first, his character was a mystery, and of course, there's been no theories and guesses on who he is. But it has been revealed on who he's going to be, and he's going to be one of the villains in this movie, Seth Volker, aka the Sidewinder, the leader of an organization called the Serpent Society. In the comics, he was an economics professor that was chemically mutated and gained the power of teleportation. And the Serpent Society is an organization of snake-themed supervillains. And what's funny about this was that I remember that Kevin Feige, he initially announced that the sequel to Captain America: The Winter Soldier was going to be called Captain America: Serpent Society, but he was like, "Psych!" The movie is actually going to be called Captain America: Civil War. And this was after he showed a scene from Avengers: Age of Ultron, and by the way, this was during a press conference where he was going over the slate for Phase 3 of the MCU.
We have planted a lot of flags. That's what you do in show business. You know you're going to make a movie. You're not sure what movie it is, but you need a weekend, so you plant a flag on a weekend. And this is what we've announced. Actually, I think we have officially announced that Captain America 3 will be May 6, 2016. We couldn't be happier with what Joe and Anthony Russo, who are right down there, the directors of Captain America, they reinvented the franchise of Captain America. They shattered and changed everything going forward from that movie, and they are back for Captain America 3.
A few minutes later.
Gets embarrassed when we're standing here and I go, plan, we have a plan. And then I find myself doubting the plan, and I go, I'm having buyer's remorse on that Serpent Society subtitle for Captain America 3. It feels like there must be a better title somewhere.
Now, if you look at what this character looks like in the comics, he looks like a human-sized snake. But in Captain America: Brave New World, he looks human. He doesn't look like that. but we do know that Sidewinder in the movie is a scientist. So I'm thinking maybe he will, experiment on himself and he'll, transform into what he looks like in the comics. I don't know, but what I do know is that Giancarlo Esposito is an amazing actor, and seeing him in stuff like The Boys, Breaking Bad, The Mandalorian, etc. Like, I think it's awesome that, he's now in the Marvel film. Another new character that we have in this movie is Ruth Bath Seraph, aka Sapra, who will be played by Shira Haas. And you may know her from projects like Stissel, Orthodox, Bodies, and Asia. In the comics, she is a mutant and an Israeli government agent who works for Mossad. But when it was announced that her character was going to be in the movie, they were facing some backlash from the anti-Israel community. So in response to much of the controversy surrounding the character, Marvel would then announce that they are taking a new approach to the character by making her an Israeli former Black Widow and a high-ranking U.S. government official who is a close ally of President Ross. Now, who knows how big a role she's going to play, but looking up the history of this character and the controversy, I am interested to see like what they're going to do with this character now that she's in the MCU, because I feel like they could have just took the character out of the movie, but they're keeping her around, so like I said, I'm curious to see what they're going to do. And I mentioned before that I'm glad that they're bringing back the leader, they're bringing back Betty Ross, and giving the Incredible Hulk movie more recognition. Another character that they brought back that you thought that they forgotten about was Tiamat, the giant celestial from the movie Eternals. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the only time Tiamat was mentioned was in She-Hulk, but now it looks like they're bringing back Tiamat in Captain America Brave New World. And I have read an article and I've seen videos of this being brought up, but there has been rumors and theories that might be true, which is that Tiamat might actually play a part in the story. And the rumors and the theories are that Ross wants to recover Tiamat, but he's not the only one that's after it, and apparently there's going to be a lot of people in various countries going to war over Tiamat, and the reason why that is because his body may be a resource for adamantium. Now of course the first thing you think of when you hear that word is Wolverine, and we know that Wolverine and the X-Men are coming to the MCU, but even if it doesn't lead up to that, I'm still interested to see where they're going to go from here, especially if the rumors and theories are true. But that's pretty much my thoughts on the movie, but let me know what you think. For me, I am excited for this movie. It's giving me a Captain America Winter Soldier vibes, and I know that this film has been going through some reshoots, so hopefully the reshoots, they don't affect the movie in a bad way, but it makes the movie better. But that's it for my thoughts on Captain America Brave New World. Now we're going to move on to the next movie, The Thunderbolts.
So what, do we all just punch and shoot?
We are the Thunderbolts!
Before I, talk about the movie and the trailer, I just thought that for those who may not know about the Thunderbolts, I want to, give a sort of a brief explanation of who they are in the comics. So, let's get right to it. So in the comics, the Thunderbolts are a team of anti-heroes and reformed villains, and Baron Zemo in the comics was actually the one that brought the team together, or should I say the first incarnation of the Thunderbolts. So this all started when the Avengers and the Fantastic Four were killed fighting the villain Onslaught, and Zemo, knowing this and knowing that the world needs superheroes, he took that as an opportunity by bringing in villains that were members of a supervillain team, the Masters of Evil, and they would disguise themselves as heroes. They had new suits, new names, and they became a superhero team. And Zemo's plan was that once they gained the trust of the public and the authorities, he would then try to take over the world. But all that backfired when not only was it revealed that the Avengers and the Fantastic Four were not dead, but Zemo's own team actually turned against him, as it turned out that they actually like being heroes rather than villains. And that's pretty much the story of the Thunderbolts, which is pretty interesting. And like I said, that was the first incarnation of the team. There have been other incarnations of the team, even having some superheroes in the rosters, and they made some appearances in video games and animations, etc. And now they're finally coming out with a movie, and honestly, it looks pretty good. So going by the origin story in the comics and judging by the trailer, it looks like they're taking a different route with the Thunderbolts, like a Baron Zemo, who may or may not be in this movie, who knows. But like I said before, in the comics, he was the one that brought the Thunderbolts together, and it looks like Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who we first saw in Falcon and Winter Soldier, will be the one that will bring the team together. At least that's what it looks like. Now for the team, we got Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh, who was introduced in Black Widow. Her and Natasha's family was like the best part in that movie, Elena being my favorite. I liked her in Black Widow, I liked her in Hawkeye, and I like that they're still keeping this character around.
Kate Bishop.
Hi.
Next is Alexei Shostakov, aka the Red Guardian, played by David Harbour, who was also in Black Widow. And Red Guardian, you know, I thought was a pretty cool character. I thought he was funny.
You both have killed so many people. Your ledgers must be dripping, just gushing red. I couldn't be more proud of you.
But the only complaint that I had about him in the movie was that he was the Soviet Union's, you know, first super soldier, you know, the Russian version of Captain America, and I feel like the movie didn't really show what he was really capable of. I mean, yeah, there were some moments here and there, but I feel like we could have had more, and that fight scene with him and Taskmaster, like, he was getting whooped the whole time. And while I can agree that, yeah, you know, the character is not in his prime, at the same time, though, I don't know. I feel like, you know, the movie could have shown us more than what they gave us. So hopefully we get a little more of Red Guardian in this movie than we did with Black Widow. But I can't wait to see, you know, more of the father and daughter relationship between him and Yelena. Next, we have John Walker, played by Wyatt Russell, who was in The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now, the first time I watched that show, I remember hating him. But really, though, I was being biased. Now, if you don't like the character, that's fine, but speaking for myself, I was being pretty biased because, you know, Steve Rogers will always be Captain America. I mean, he is Captain America, and, you know, he chose Sam to take the mantle. Now, Sam, he's no Steve Rogers either, but we like Sam. So to bring in this new guy is like,
Join me in welcoming your new Captain America. Is this? No! No!
How dare you stand where he stood?
now, unless you read the comics, you're probably, you know, familiar with John Walker, but for people who are not, you know, familiar with this character or the comics, they're like, you know, who is this guy, right? But taking out the bias, I mean, yeah, John does have moments of being an asshole. He does come off as someone who thinks he knows better, but really he's inexperienced when it comes to dealing with things like aliens, monsters, gods, people with powers, etc. But taking the bias away, he's not a bad character. He's actually not that bad of a guy. Like, when you really look at it, he's actually trying, you know, to do the right thing and be, you know, the best Captain America he can be. And as we learned, when John was chosen to be Captain America, he felt that gave him the opportunity to do what he felt was more right in comparison to his time in Afghanistan, which he considers to be like the worst times of his life because of the things that he did.
3 badges of excellence to make sure I never forget the worst day of my life. We both know that the things that we had to do in Afghanistan to be awarded those medals felt a long way from being right. Being Cap's the first time I've had the chance to do something that actually feels right.
Now, whether or not John is going through survivor's guilt or PTSD or whatever, I think it's safe to say that, you know, the character was going through something, which I feel like the show didn't really explore enough of, by the way, but it made him unfit for the mantle. But now that he's U.S. agent, I'm intrigued to see what's next for this character. The next character is Ava Starr, aka Ghost, who was the villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp, played by Hannah John Kamen. Now, as the movie goes on, you learn more about her character and her backstory. Like, you couldn't help but feel bad for her. With the death of her parents, her struggling with her powers and how it was, you know, affecting her body, being taken in by S.H.I.E.L.D., promising a cure for her abilities in exchange for doing missions for them, but then eventually finding out that was all a lie. So it's a pretty tragic story, which I feel like that's something that she has in common with some of the characters in this team. I've noticed, like some of them has been through some stuff. And I also noticed that she's got a new suit, which looks pretty good. And I remember reading something that said that they were going to take the character out of the film, but thankfully that was just a rumor, because though I wouldn't say that she's my favorite, I do like the character, and I am, you know, looking forward to seeing her return in Thunderbolts.
Where is Scott Lang?
I've been trying to tell you, he's in a tricky spot, emotionally speaking.
Emotionally speaking? Well, where is Scott Lang? Literally speaking!
Oh, the woods.
The woods?
Ah!
do you mean, the woods?
The Muir Woods, Second Fire Road off the Panoramic Highway.
For God's sake.
Whoa! Come at night, little children sleepy tight.
Like I said, she was looking for a cure because her powers were also like a deadly disease that was tearing her body apart. Like it was, you know, slowly killing her until she was cured by Janet Van Dyne. And I don't remember if it was temporary or not, but she was able to help Ava with her illness. I mean, she seems to be doing better than the last time we saw her, but anyways. The next character is Antonia Dregoff, aka Taskmaster, played by Olga Kurylenko, who was the villain in Black Widow. Now, out of everyone in this team, Taskmaster is the only one that I honestly don't really care for, and I feel like I have to make this clear. It has nothing to do with them changing the character's gender. For those who don't know, Taskmaster in the comics is a guy named Tony Masters, who is a mercenary hired as a training instructor by various criminal organizations. In Black Widow, she's a woman who is the daughter of Dregoff, who was a high-ranking officer in the Soviet Armed Forces and the overseer for the Red Room, where he would select young girls to be trained to become Black Widows, and he also turned Alexei into Red Guardian. And after being, you know, injured from a assassination attempt on her father, Antonia had her mind and body controlled by a chip that gave her the ability to mimic fighting techniques of other people. And she was also the commander of the Red Room. But at the end of the movie, Natasha was able to free her from the mind control. And before Ross showed up, Antonia left with Yelena, Melina, Red Guardian, and the other Black Widows that were free from the mind control. And that was the last time we've seen Antonia. And also Melina and Red Guardian. But yeah. So this is an entirely different character with the Taskmaster mantle. When it came to the action scenes, I thought she was cool. But besides that, I just felt that the character was pretty underwhelming. Which sucks because I was really hyped for a Taskmaster in Black Widow. But hopefully in Thunderbolts they'll do more for her character. And it looks like she's got a new suit as well. I mean, everybody in the team's got new suits, but I feel like, you know, Taskmaster and Ghost, they're the ones that look, you know, far more, you know, different than their previous appearances. But Taskmaster's new suit, I think it looks okay. And last but not least is Bucky Barnes, played by Sebastian Stan, who the last time we seen this character was in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. And honestly, as much as I, you know, enjoyed that show, it does have its flaws. And I mentioned one of them before, how I felt that John Walker's character wasn't really explored enough, and when it comes to Bucky, you know, for a show that's called The Falcon and Winter Soldier, I feel like his story was kind of sidelined. But anyways, Bucky is such an awesome character, and according to Kevin Feige in this article I found, Bucky is going to be the leader of the Thunderbolts. This article, by the way, I found on Screen Rant. Now, honestly, I assumed that, you know, Yelena was going to be the team's leader, but having Bucky as a leader, especially after the Falcon and Winter Soldier, where his story in the show was about his journey to healing from the times when he was the Winter Soldier and brainwashed by Hydra. It's going to be pretty cool and interesting to see him, you know, now taking on a leadership role.
I'm no longer the Winter Soldier. I'm James Bucky Barnes, and you're part of my efforts to make amends.
And that is everybody that's on the team. Now when it comes to new characters, we got Bob, aka the Sentry, who will be played by Lewis Pullman, who has been in things like Top Gun Maverick, Outer Range, Bad Times at the El Royale, Lessons in Chemistry, and the 2024 version of Salem's Lot. Originally, Steven Yeun was going to play the Sentry, who you probably know him as Glenn from The Walking Dead. He's also been in Invincible and Beef. Now Sentry in the comics is Robert Reynolds, and he was a drug addict that broke into a lab and found something that he thought were drugs, but really it was a serum called the Golden Sentry Serum, and when he took it, it gave him the power of a million exploding suns. Now Sentry is a character that I have heard of before and I've seen before, but I never really knew his origin story. So the fact that he was a junkie that thought he was getting a fix, but really he got powers instead, that's just crazy to me. And I mean, in a way, I guess he did get a fix, but it's just not the kind he thought that he was going to get. And when it comes to his power level, he is like the equivalent of Superman, and is actually considered to be one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe, so this is a pretty OP character. And I don't know if this was confirmed, but he might be the villain in this movie, but I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him though. And another thing that I don't know if it's true, and I read this on comicbook.com, but Rachel Weisz and Lawrence Fishburne might be coming back as Melina Vostokov and Bill Foster, and Harrison Ford might make an appearance as a Thunderbolt Ross. But again, remember, this could be a rumor, so we're just going to have to wait and see. And the last thing that I want to bring up is the asterisk in the title, which I honestly didn't think much of it until I, seen videos of people, talking about it and questioning, like, what was that asterisk for. And I read an article from a Game Rant where David Harbour was talking about that, and he pretty much says that the asterisk is hinting at a rebranding of the team. So like right now their team is called Thunderbolts, but that name is probably not going to stick for long, and they're going to go by a different name by the end of the movie. And some people think it might be something like a Dark Avengers, but whatever it is, I think it's safe to assume that it's going to be some type of Avengers team, because there are different types of Avengers teams in the comics, like a New Avengers, a Secret Avengers, a West Coast Avengers. And there is a moment in the teaser trailer and the trailer that they showed at a D23 where the Thunderbolts were talking to Valentina in the building, which it turns out to be the Avengers Tower, and it was confirmed that Valentina bought that tower.
How crazy is it to think of all the monumental fights that happened exactly here where you're standing? I mean, the place wasn't cheap, but it's got good optics.
And there has been some sources that in Captain America Brave New World, Thaddeus Ross is planning on rebuilding the Avengers. And we also got Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars coming out, so we do know that the Avengers team will be coming back. Because after Endgame, like, I don't know if the team was like officially disbanded. It just looks more like, everybody's just doing their own thing right now. But anyways, Thunderbolts, like I said before, it looks pretty good so far. But yeah, there's really not much to go on right now, because the trailer didn't really show much. I mean, it did show us some stuff, but it didn't really give away much of the story. Like we know that these characters are gonna do a mission together, but we don't know like the details of that mission. I mean, it may have something to do with Sentry, but from what we've seen so far, this movie looks like it's going to be fun. I mean, I'm actually looking forward to this.
Can't call ourselves that.
Thank God.
The Thunderbolts. It's a cool name.
But those are my thoughts on Captain America Brave New World and Thunderbolts, and that will be it for this video. But let me know what you think. This is Marcus from the Weekly Spot. More content will be coming out soon, but until then, take care everyone.